Okay, so if you remember that the last time we had some notes, we talked about how you have to have your equation into slope-intercept form in order to pull anything from it. So we are going to take that information that we learned, and now we're going to put it on a graph. So we're going to graph the lines. This equation we have right here is pretty cool because it's already in slope-intercept form. So the only thing I have to do is identify that the slope is this number that's stuck to x, and the y-intercept is this number kind of hanging out by itself. So we have our slope is 1/3, and our y-intercept is -2. In order to graph a line, you always have to start with a point on the graph. Not a paint, a point. So we need to start with a point on the graph. And after we have a point where we start, then we can move up and down the graph with the slope that we have. Okay, so the point that we're given is this b value, this y-intercept, because the y-intercept is just a point on the graph. So I'm going to plot -2 on my y-axis, and then I'm going to use my slope of 1/3. Because the slope is positive, we're going to go up 1 and write 3. So you're going to go up 1 and write 3 as many times as it will fit. Okay? Now that you're out of room on that side, you need to continue the graph going the other direction. So you're going to do the opposite of everything you did. So instead of up 1 and right 3, we're going to go down 1 and left 3. Okay, now that you have all the points that will fit on your graph, you're going to connect them using a line, and you're going to draw arrows on either end. This next one, again, the y is already by itself on that side of the equation, so all I have to do is identify my slope. This one's backwards, but it's okay. You just need to remember that the slope is the number that is always stuck to the x value. So we have a -2/5 is the slope, and the y-intercept is still the number that's kind of hanging out by itself, is a 1. So first we start with a point on the graph, which would be our y-intercept at +1. So I plot +1 on the y-axis. Then I use the slope to move. If my slope is -2/5, that means I'm going to go down 2 and right 5. So from this point at 1, we're going to go down 2 and right 5. Down 2 and right 5. When you're out of room going that direction, you're going to go back to where you started, and you're going to reverse it and go the other way. So I'm going to go up 2 and left 5. Up 2 and left 5. Now that you have all the points that will fit, now you're going to draw a straight line between all of them and draw arrows at the end. All right? These next two examples, I can't go ahead and just start naming the m and b because my y value is not by itself on this side of the equation. So I need to go back and remember how to solve for y. The first thing you have to do when solving an equation is make sure you don't have any parentheses. So take this 2/3 and multiply it or distribute it across your parentheses to get rid of them. So keep the y - 3 equals 2/3 times x is 2/3 x. 2/3 times -3 is a -2. Now I need to move the -3, and because we're going across the equal sign, we're going to do the opposite, which is to add 3. So that's gone. I have y by itself equals. I can't add the 2/3 x to the 3 because they're not like terms. So I carry down the 2/3 x, but this -2 and this +3 I can put together because neither of them have a variable. So -2 plus 3 is going to leave us with a +1. Now that the equation's in y equals, now I can find the slope and the y-intercept. So the slope is this 2/3 value that's stuck to x, and the y-intercept is this +1 value that's kind of hanging out at the end. So 2/3 is the slope, and that means I'm going to move up 2 and right 3. The y-intercept is +1. You always have to start with a point. The slope is not a point, but the y-intercept is a point. So I'm going to start on my y-axis at 1, and then I'm going to use my slope to move across the graph. So I'm going to move up 2 and right 3. Up 2 and right 3. Up 2 and right 3. All right, now that I have all the points plotted on that side, I'm going to reverse it all so I can get points on the other side. So down 2 and left 3. Down 2, left 3. Down 2, left 3. Now that I have all the points that will fit, I'm going to draw a straight line across them, and put arrows on the ends, okay? All right, same thing with this one. I need to get the y all by itself, and the first thing I need to do is get rid of the parentheses. So I have negative 4 times x is going to give me a negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 1 is going to give me a positive 4. I haven't touched this side, so we're going to bring down y plus 4 equals. I need the y alone, so I need to move the plus 4, and the opposite of plus 4 is to subtract 4. So I'm going to do that to both sides. So this is gone. I have y alone equals, I can't put negative 4x and negative 4 together because they're not like terms. So bring down the negative 4x and put these numbers together because they're just numbers. Negative 4 plus 4 is going to give you 0. So you can either write the equation like that, or you could write it just as y equals negative 4x. And that means the same thing. So now that y is by itself, I can find the slope is the number next to the x. So my slope is negative 4. But remember, slope is always two directions. It's always a vertical direction and a horizontal direction. So if you have a whole number, it's going to help you to put it over 1 so that you remember both directions. So it's going to go down 4 and right 1. But the b value in this one is kind of weird. The number that's hanging out by itself is 0. Or in this case, it's just nothing. So if you write the equation like this, you need to remember that there's still a b value there. You just can't see that it's 0. Okay? So when we start with a point on the graph, we're going to start at y equals 0. We're going to start where the b value or the y-intercept is 0. So that's the origin. Start at the origin, and then our slope was negative 4 over 1. So we're going to go down 4 and over 1. Down 4 and over 1. As soon as you've gone as far as you can in that direction, you're going to go back to your beginning and you're going to reverse it. So up 4 and left 1. Up 4 and left 1. Now that you have all the points that will fit, you're going to draw a line between them and put arrows on the ends. Okay? All right. These next two are weird because they don't give me an equation, but that's okay because remember, all I need to start is a point on the graph. So I don't have a y-intercept, but I do have this point. So we're going to plot the point negative 3, 1, and then we can use the slope from there. So this slope is 3, but remember we need two directions, so we're going to put it 3 over 1 because it's a whole number, so we can put it over 1. So that means we're going to go up 3 and right 1. So from this starting point that we were given, we're going to go up 3 and right 1. Up 3 and right 1. Up 3 and right 1. When you run out of room going that direction, you're going to go back to where you started and do the opposite. So down 3 and left 1. Down 3 and left 1. Down 3 and left 1. Okay? When all the points you have on your graph are there, you're going to draw a line between them and put some arrows on. All right. Next, again, we don't have an equation, but we do have an ordered pair that gives us a starting point we can use. So we're going to start at this point, negative 3, negative 5. That's this point right here. And then we're going to move with our slope of 0. Now, if the slope is 0, that's a really weird situation. So I want you to draw that Mr. Slope guy that we learned in our notes a couple notes ago. Remember, if it's a positive line, then it looks like that. If it's a negative line, it will go down. Whoops, that's negative. If it's a line that's undefined, you have that vertical line. And if it's a line with a slope of 0, it's like his mouth. It's horizontal. So my slope of 0 means we're going to go from this starting point and draw a line straight across left and right. And that's this equation, or that's this line. Okay? All right, last two. If we have x plus 3y equals 6, I cannot put that on a graph until I first get this y by itself. Well, I'm first going to remember that this x is really a 1x, and then I'm going to move it over. So the opposite of a positive 1x is to subtract 1x. So all I have left on this side is 3y, and on this side, I can't put the 6 and the negative 1x together because they're not like terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the negative 1x, and then I'm going to add the 6 back to behind it. Now to get rid of the 3, because the 3 and the y are stuck together, we divide everything we have by 3. So I have y by itself. Negative 1 over 3 is really just negative 1/3 x. 6 divided by 3 is a positive 2. So now that y is by itself, now I can locate that my slope is this negative 1/3 and my y-intercept is the positive 2. So negative 1/3 is the slope. That means we're going to go down 1 and right 3. Positive 2 is the y-intercept, and that's where I'm going to begin. So begin at, on the graph, we begin at 2 on the y-axis. And then like we said, we're going to use our slope to go down 1 and over 3. Down 1, over 3. Down 1, over 3. Once you've gone as far as you can in that direction, you need to go back where you started and go the other way. So now up 1 and left 3. Okay? Once you have all the points that will fit on your graph, you're going to connect them and put arrows on the ends. All right, the last one, we need to solve for y. So we're going to add 4x to both sides. We have 3y equals, remember we can't put those together because they're not like terms, so 4x plus 12. Divide everything you have by 3. So y equals 4/3 x plus 4. So the slope is 4/3, which means you're going to go up 4 and right 3. The y-intercept is this positive 4 here. All right, so we're going to start with our y-intercept at 4 on the y-axis. We're going to use our slope to go up 4 and over 3. All right, that's all I can fit on that side. So then I'm going to do the opposite. So down 4 and left 3. Down 4, left 3. Down 4, left 3. All right, connect your points, draw your arrows.